Hello, and welcome to the Thematic Intelligence podcast. At Global Data Thematic Intelligence, we track over 100 tech, industry, ESG, and macro themes impacting all major sectors. I'm Hugo Shapero, and today I'm joined by Marie-Sophie Ausch, who is an analyst at growth equity and venture capital firm Tempocap. Hi, Marie-Sophie, great to see you. How are you?
Hey, Hugo, I'm great. Super excited to be on your podcast today. Thank you so much for having me.
Before we jump into some quick fireside chat about venture capital, could you please tell us a bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, of course. So I'm an analyst at Tempocap, a growth equity firm. I've been there nearly a year now. And before that, I was an intern at an early stage fintech focused fund called Outward VC. And prior to that, I was at LSE with you, finishing my undergrad in history and politics.
Yeah, of course, we had a great time. Do you think you could just tell us a bit about, just briefly, what is growth equity for those who don't know?
Yeah, so growth equity is acquiring minority stakes in relatively mature companies. So different to venture investing because it's not just a founder with their idea, it's a company that has a proven track record. So for example, to give you an idea, we tend to look at companies that are around kind of $10 million in ARR and have a clear path to profitability and can show a proven track record of execution and growth.
To hear what exactly you're looking for, but what sectors you operate in and what kind of companies?
Yeah, so adding on to the metrics that I just mentioned, we invest in kind of anything European technology with a specific focus on enterprise software, cybersecurity, and fintech. So to give you a few examples, we were fortunate enough to have been involved in 5 of the top 12 all-cash acquisitions of VC-backed European businesses. And one of the main examples is Depop, which I'm sure a lot of you have done some shopping on. And another good example of the types of companies that we look at is an investment that we made in Currency Cloud, which is a cross-border payments platform that was acquired by Visa for around $900 million. So these are 2 examples of some of our most successful investments today.
Great, thanks. I also noticed that some of these companies, Depop specifically, is a UK-based and started company. So on that basis, what is your view on the UK startup ecosystem and its potential?
Yeah, so I think the UK startup ecosystem has definitely seen significant evolution, especially over the past few years. It does maintain a prominent position in the global entrepreneurial landscape. And of course, there was quite a notable decline in VC funding during the initial months of 2023 and early 2024. But the sector remains resilient and influential, in my opinion. In 23, for example, UK startups raised $21.3 billion in VC funding, which is the 3rd highest total on record behind the exceptional years of 2021 and 2022. And more specifically, geographically, the UK startup ecosystem is also diversifying beyond London. There's been substantial investment growth in regions like the West Midlands, Glasgow, and Northern Ireland. I think cities like Manchester, Birmingham, and Leeds are also becoming notable hubs for high-growth companies. So I think there's a general robustness of the UK's entrepreneurial landscape. And in general, despite kind of the recent challenges in the market, the country continues to attract various VC funds and maintains its status as the leading tech ecosystem in Europe, and is also the 3rd largest worldwide behind the US and China.
It's good to hear that the UK is still managing to compete and do well, because you do hear a lot of negative news about the UK. So that's encouraging. And also about the diversification away from London. That's very interesting, especially with tech, potentially where could be the cities of the future be in the UK. Yeah, well, so thank you. That's great. So moving more globally, what do you think, what do you see as the biggest trends within VC funding? What are the sectors? What are the technologies? What's your thoughts? What's your sort of take?
Yeah, so as I just mentioned, the funding landscape is stabilizing, but it does remain kind of cautious compared to the peak levels seen in 2021. I think around February 2024, global funding was around $21.5 billion, which is slightly up from the previous year. But overall monthly funding average has decreased by 62% from the 2021 peak. So this clearly indicates a more measured investment approach and reflects the broader economic uncertainties and market corrections. I think a really notable trend is the rise of the secondary space, by which I mean the sale of stakes in companies or entire VC portfolios. And this is super relevant to what we do at Tempocap, because more than half of our investments are secondaries. And we've definitely seen this rise because our deal flow has increased fivefold. I think in terms of specific sectors that are trending, of course, as you'll be hearing everywhere, there's AI. So I think in February 2024 alone, AI companies received $4.7 billion of funding, which represents over 20% of total VC investment for that month. So this is a space that we're actively looking into and that receives an increased amount of funding. Another sector that I find super interesting is climate tech. So I think with over 7,000 companies, of which 100 are valued at over $1 billion, this is a super important sector. ESG is currently extremely relevant, especially because of the ongoing changes in the regulatory landscape as well. A third one that I think is worth mentioning is defense technology, which I find a super exciting space. In 2023, for example, defense tech investments reached $34 billion. This is expected to grow by at least 16% in 2024. So we kind of hopped on that trend very early on through our investment in Dedrone, which is an airspace security solution that protects from drone threats, and it was actually announced a few weeks back that it was acquired by Axon Enterprises. So another one of our successful exits, which we're very grateful for. So yeah, I think these three spaces are definitely super exciting to me.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And this talk about drones seems very topical, especially with the use of drones in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So I can really see how there's a lot of value in that space. And AI, of course, I don't think we need to talk any more about AI. The importance of that has clearly been discussed. And climate tech, of course, great to hear that there's ambitious funding going into that sector and value is being created. So yeah, that sounds really great. Thank you. And just moving on to our final question. And again, being topical.
It was London Tech Week last week. What did you look forward to there?
So I think one of the main things that I really enjoy about London Tech Week is the panel discussions and being able to listen into kind of experts in the field speak about very topical things. There's a lot of panels on AI this year at London Tech Week, which I think it will be super interesting to hear perspectives, which both apply to potential new investments as well as helping our portfolio companies navigate the evolving landscape. There's also a lot of speakers hosting discussions around data and cybersecurity, which again is super relevant. And we're very active with our portfolio companies. So that's definitely kind of a space that we can help them in. There's also loads of showcases of various startups in a wide range of sectors, which I always find valuable to learn about spaces that I may not be super knowledgeable about yet, but are kind of up and coming. And then again, the one-to-one meetings with companies are always super interesting as well in terms of finding new potential investment opportunities. And then in general, I think just the networking around London Tech Week and the events surrounding it that are happening all throughout the city are always super valuable, especially for someone like me who's just broken into VC straight out of undergrad. So yeah.
Yeah, networking, obviously, as you mentioned, is going to be important, although it's always a struggle. But cybersecurity as well. I mean, we just finished up a series of reports on cybersecurity, so we've already seen the importance of it. It really is a very important theme, something we consider a lot. So yeah, I definitely agree it's key. And just like the exposure to different ideas from these professionals is definitely exciting. So yeah, it's good to hear your perspective. Thank you, Millie.
Thank you so much, Hugo.
Yeah, great to have you on, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Definitely.